tend to burn through that quite quickly. But yeah, the steaks and the roasts last us a long time. So I need to have plans to eat those, or at least increase the rate at which we're eating those. But consequences is I haven't bought any beef in 3 months. I'm out. About a week ago, I decided. Teenage child said, "I've never had lamb," so I decided I'd make a genuine shepherd's pie. Americans generally don't make genuine shepherd's pie. Shepherds do not look after cows. That's the hint. So I went to buy some ground lamb. And, oh my goodness, is that stuff expensive? You're talking about $8 a pound? And I'm thinking, that's ridiculous. But what I wasn't doing was looking, yeah, I haven't bought beef. And of course, I'm listening to somebody talking about inflation and food inflation, and the fact that in some places beef is now going for $10 a pound. And if you want the fancy steaks and everything else, they cost significantly more. So turns out that $8 a pound for lamb meat, not as excessive as I thought it was.
Kind of lucky this morning.
What?
Because there was only 2 cups left in the chocolate chip bag, and the recipe requires 2 cups of chocolate chips.
What? Big bag? Where'd they all go? Well, I haven't eaten them.
Last time I used them was for the brownies.
I don't know. Well, that's what it is. Anyway. Yeah. So she's making chocolate chip cookies for tonight, for her event. And that does not make me happy. Because when it comes to chocolate chips, I bought that bag of chocolate chips at Sam's. So we're talking a massive bag of chocolate chips that should, you know, keep a baker in chocolate chips for a good 2 weeks. There are a fair number of people in the southern Michigan, northern Ohio, near Michigan border area that I know of. Not that I've really visited many internet people. Visited my wife before she was my wife. And popped in and had lunch at a restaurant with Arthur one time when we were visiting Mrs. Osa's family. We usually go every summer. They have a family get together at a local park with, you know, barbecue food, bring the salads and potato salad and what have you. But for obvious reasons we couldn't do that this year. as Mrs. Osa got incredibly sick all of a sudden. So that was our plans. Actually, it was kind of awkward because I'd already booked the time off. We'd already booked the hotel, and then that particular week, Mrs. Osa, what was it? She ended up in hospital the week before and was unable to move around much. So I had to call the hotel and cancel that while she was in hospital. And that wasn't actually so much of an issue. And then I was going to cancel my vacation, and I ended up needing the entire week off to visit Mrs. Osa and look after her. So I still had my vacation, although it was sat at home or sat in hospitals for 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day. Yeah, the summer has not been the greatest this year, I could say. But at least Mrs. Osa's getting, and she's doing okay. I mean, obviously she's not getting better because we haven't had the major surgery, but she is doing okay. She's actually far more mobile than she was 2 months ago. Yeah, we had to get a shower seat, and since our contractor friend suddenly came into a period that he didn't have any work to do for a week, he came over and took out our big, we had a big bath in our, what's it? The master bedroom's bathroom. So we took that out and replaced it with a huge built-in shower. It's about 4 foot by 5 foot, and built-in seat and everything else. So it's a really nice shower. Now we need to do the rest of the bathroom because the rest of the bathroom looks crap when compared to it. But that's happened. But we still have the walker that we borrowed, but she only needs it to get up and downstairs, in and out of the house at the moment. Everywhere else, she's walking fine on her own, which is nice. Thargoids have attacked a bunch of stations. The little fishing boats, yes indeed. Now, which is the Asp Explorer the big one with the 6 hard points? I quickly worked my way up to whichever one. Yeah, it's the Asp. I got an Asp and fitted it out for exploration, and then picked a point in the galaxy and mapped every system I visited to that point, and then came back by a different route, and I mapped a whole load of worlds around that area, and it was kind of fun. I was out on my own, just don't care what the galaxy's doing, don't care what the political thing is, because I'm not there. I am frontier exploring, so there are probably a whole bunch of worlds out there that still have my names tagged to it, because I don't think anybody else had been there. And the big question is, will anybody ever discover I was there? Because, like I said, I just picked a random point and went there. My elite dangerous name was Llewellyn, Llewelyn, and I was in from beta, so chances are you will find me having explored places all around, and that was the old way of exploring places rather than the way you do it now. I have no idea how it works now. Yes, I understood that, you know, from Thargoids weren't a thing when I was playing, so, you know, there were rumours of Thargoids, but nobody had ever found anything. I think the crystal growths on the planets had been discovered and people were trying to figure them out. But I don't know why, you know, things happened. I think it was about the time we started fostering, and I just didn't have enough time to invest in that type of game. You know, when you've got kids around the house, you kind of want a game you can put down immediately, so online games tend not to work out too well. And you know, obviously games you can pause, or you can play for 15 minutes and then do something else, work a lot better in those situations. Now obviously we have a teenager now, so she's not as demanding on time, and I can spend things like Saturday mornings playing Farm Sim for 3 hours and streaming. And then I do believe it won't be next week. In a couple of weeks the clocks go back, and I may end up streaming from 8 o'clock in the morning rather than 9 o'clock. But we'll see how that works out. Also, Farm Sim 22, I believe, comes out on the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. And in all likelihood, I will... No, we're done. I'm not paying attention. Field 21 needs fertilizing. Where is 21? That one over there. Might need to fill the tanks up, but maybe we'll go and look at that. And my main account is able to get to the Pilots Federation world, whatever that's called, where you get all the ships and the equipment at discount. I think I went there once. But the game's come on a long way since I played it last. So much so, you know, it's kind of like... I took a look at Star Trek Online, which I played at release, and there are so many changes. It's sort of, I really don't know what I'm doing, and you don't take an established character and go hog wild because you just don't know what you're doing. So it's a matter of relearning how the game works again, and I don't have time to put into those sorts of games at this time. I am going to have to take a very brief break. I'll be back in a sec. And I'm back again. Okay. Apparently Mrs. Osa's phone rang, so she was talking on the phone. And sometimes that, at this time of day, it could be her calling for some assistance, but it wasn't, so we're good. Okay, let's take that contract and fill up the tanks, and we'll do the contract and head back to the barn. And I really should get the desire back up to play Fantasy General 2 again. It's a game I played. Fantasy General was produced back in the DOS days. And basically it was... okay, let's talk board war games. So there were a series of games from a company, I believe, called Avalon Hill, which... sort of Panzer General and what have you, and they were basically a map of Eastern Europe or Western Europe, and you had tokens representing your units and you placed them on the map, and then there were rules what happens when your tank token meets a Russian tank token, and which one dies and which one stays on the map. Big thing back in the 1970s and 80s, and there was a company that did computerized, Panzer General, Panzer General 2, all of them, and then they decided to do Fantasy General, which was basically the same idea, but with orcs and goblins and elves and flying dragons and stuff. And apart from that, they worked the same way as Panzer General did. And I really got into Fantasy General back in the day, and as I said, it was a DOS game. It wasn't the most amazing gameplay, but it was fun. It was a fun game. And then it was probably about 2 or 3 years ago now, I think it was Slytherin Games announced they were doing Fantasy General 2. I thought, well, that's going to be worth a look at. And I did get it. And I was really pleasantly surprised because they had taken the music from the original Fantasy General game, obviously re-rendered it into surround sound stereo and all the rest of it. But the music was direct pull from the original game. The storyline is sort of 10,000 years since the original Fantasy General, and the graphics are obviously seriously updated, but it's still a hex map with a token representing each unit. And fun, but I keep getting so far and then getting distracted and not finishing it. And it's a storyline mission, You play a battle, you progress to the next battle in the sequence. It's you earn gold for completing stuff, for ransacking the lands around where you're attacking, which allows you to buy new units, but your army is limited to the number of units you're allowed to have. So you can't completely overwhelm the bad guys by just taking 20 units into battle and they've only got 6. The game controls how many units you can have at any given time, but you have free selection of which units to have, and as time goes on you can upgrade your units. to be better. So you might start with skirmish troops, and then you can either convert them into foresters or slingers. Slingers have ranged attack, foresters have stealth attack. And the big thing is not to allow your units to die or to get overly injured. If a unit gets injured by a significant percentage, then I'm trying to remember how to get into this field. I think we go down here. Then its performance will degrade. So you've got to be very careful. Don't do suicide attacks, because you'll end up with your unit either being wiped out, which means you're going to start with an experienced 1 unit, which aren't particularly effective. But even so, if your experienced 3 unit takes 50% damage and you have to replace it with rookies, it's now an experienced 2 unit, so it's lost effectiveness. So you really have to look after your unit's effectiveness. Don't let them get dead too quickly. If a unit looks like it's about to be killed, pull back, because 10% of an experienced 3 unit that's reinforced with rookies is still better than a brand new unit of rookies. Plus your brand new unit of rookies starts out as either a spearman or an infantryman, and if you just lost a cavalry unit, you've now got to train up that infantryman to become a cavalry unit, and it's time invested in the unit that you're losing. At least if you lose, if you drop back to rookie but it's still cavalry, you don't have to train it up skills wise as well. But good fun game. But as I said, I haven't got very far in it because I keep getting distracted by other things. And crazy, it is the sort of game you can pick up, because a battle will take you 30 minutes, half an hour. Well, 30 minutes is half an hour, but yeah, a battle might take you 30 minutes. So you could load up, play it for half an hour, get to the end of that battle, save it, and then come back later. You don't need to sit down for 4 hours to get anywhere. That's kind of the problem I have with a lot of games like Hearts of Iron 4 and Stellaris, Civilization, those sorts of games, is if I don't play the session in one sitting, I come back to it 2 weeks later and it's like, where did I get up to? What was I doing? Who's at war with me? And the whole game sort of falls apart at that point. So I prefer to have a game that I can just play and move on. I mean, that said, Farm Sim I'm playing as a marathon, but it's not like I have to worry about who's my allies and who I'm at war with and where my trade's coming from and do I have enough military units and all of that palaver. This is a fairly easy thing actually. I should have been very careful on that turn because we are right on the map border. At least I think we are. Who are interested, we are coming up to the end of our first hour and all we've done is fertilise fields so far. As I said, this will be the last one we do as a fertilization contract for now. Or is that... Oh, we might not be on the map edge. I'm so confused. Oh no, we're now along the edge of 19, which was... That's one of the Oxygen David contract fields that you can do. Farming Agency adds so many more fields. Income potential is just ridiculous. When we finish this one, I'm probably going to have £50,000. And we started with 12 this morning and bought 3 pallets of liquid fertilizer. So, yeah. It's not like we haven't been spending. That's good 10,000 just on its own. Anyway. Well, my tea's gone before it got cold, so that's a good thing. I turned off the mini-map. There we go. Mini-map is incredibly useful because it tells you where you've been if you're running precision farming. That involves getting up, so try and keep that as infrequent as possible when I'm streaming. Anyway, so what are our plans? I think, let me to the end of here. About there. So what was we doing? So we've, oh good grief. So we started off with 250 sheep in each of these 2 fields, and we've already had 8 since I started this session, 331 over the course of late winter. And I want to try and keep our